Jamie, how would you rank these wide receivers as we'll wait to get Heath back here? Brandin Cooks, now with the Cowboys. Michael Pittman, maybe Gardner Minshew will be his quarterback for some of the year. Who knows? And Mike Evans with Baker Mayfield. Brandin Cooks, Michael Pittman, Mike Evans. Heath, I don't know if you heard that. Brandin Cooks, Michael Pittman, Mike Evans. Jamie, how do you rank them?
Evans, Pittman, Cooks for now.
Evans, Pittman, Cooks. Heath.
Pittman, Evans, Cook. I'm not sure that Baker Mayfield is even a good thing for Mike Evans. He might be, but he also might be the guy we saw for the first half of last year, which is the worst quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, so let's talk about Brandin Cooks here, guys. And Jamie, you said off the air, you're not even sure if you moved him in your rankings after he was traded to Dallas. What's your take on him going to the Cowboys for a 5th-round pick this year and a 6th-round pick next year?
Love the move for Dallas. I think it adds to their wide receiver core, and we'll see, just exactly what Brandin Cooks still has left and how much of last year was a byproduct of the Texans or how much of a byproduct was he's just, getting into his early 30s and it's, time to start slowing down. But he's clearly not going to be the number 1 receiver on this team. And Mike McCarthy says they want to run the ball more. There's still Michael Gallup for what that's worth, and I still think he's a capable player who they paid a lot of money to. Who will get some targets. So I don't know if he's going to be the same type of fantasy option, but I do think he is a great value pick once again because he will fall in drafts. And so a guy that I would love to have as my 4th receiver, I would settle for him as my 3rd receiver. Again, I think when we talk about number 1, number 2, number 3 receivers, you have to expand the number more than just going by 12. So I think he is a very good number 3 receiver, but he's not ranked that way for me. So I think you just look at the situation in Dallas in the target crunch, and if they are going to be a more run-heavy team, it could be a little bit of a downgrade for his fantasy numbers.
Yeah, I think I've got him projected for 124, 125 targets, right around wide receiver 40 in the first run of projections. What it will come down to is this efficiency dip we've seen really the last 2 years, 7.7, 7.5 yards per target the last 2 years. He's at basically 9 yards per target the rest of his career. Was that Davis Mills? Was that I don't want to play in Houston anymore? I think it's hard to expect a bounce back to what he did in his mid-20s and what will be his age 30 season. So I'm going to probably be on the low side of that efficiency, but that does give you some hope for upside. If he's the Brandin Cooks that he was 2.5 years ago and gets 124 to 125 targets, he could be a top 30 wide receiver.
Yeah, and also not every wide receiver is in this situation, but if CeeDee Lamb gets hurt, then you could be talking about much more upside, right? I mean, you can't say that for every wide receiver.
Right.
That if this guy gets hurt, they can get so many more targets. I guess, there's an Allen Robinson comparison that I'm feeling, and I just hope it's not, he's going from the Bears. They couldn't throw the ball at all. Now he's going to the Rams, and he's the number 2 guy, but it turns out he was just not very good anymore. I hope that's not the case for Cooks.
I think the other Allen Robinson comparison is if a guy at 29 shows you that he's lost a step, you should believe him and not expect to bounce back.
Yeah, I was surprised. Brandin Cooks ranked pretty high in explosive catch rate, which is 16, was True Media defines as 16 or more yards. I think Allen Robinson was pretty bad in that metric in his last year with the Bears before he went to the Rams. That's just one metric, but shows some playmaking ability. But that's the question, Heath, is I don't know. I don't know what it is with Cooks. Did he lose a step, or was it all the things you just mentioned? I guess we'll find out with Dallas, right? Mike McCarthy, tell me if this matters to you at all, because people are going to say, well, they're not going to be like a ground and pound team. He wants to slow things down a little bit and help out his defense. Mike McCarthy was with the Packers for 13 seasons. In 6 of them, this is pretty impressive, 6 of them, Green Bay had 2 top 24 wide receivers. In 4 of those 13 seasons, they had 2 top 18 wide receivers. So the Mike McCarthy offense at least showed he can produce 2 borderline must-start wide receivers.
A little bit different quarterback there, though.
I think so, but, I feel like Rodgers, I have to go back and look. He was never a guy who threw the ball all that much.
Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. Dak Prescott's not in that category.
Right, but Prescott's putting up big numbers. That's all I'm saying. Yes, I know that, but I'm aware of that. But Prescott puts up big numbers. He's been throwing the ball so much. But all right, so that doesn't matter to you then. Okay.
No, I think, look, Brandin Cooks, again, I think will be a good value pick for fantasy managers. Will have some good weeks. I think a byproduct of last season was he wanted out of Houston. He was expected to be traded to Dallas last year, and so essentially what this is, it feels like just based on the compensation, like they waited a year to trade Brandin Cooks for Amari Cooper. And that feels like a downgrade.